Welcome back to the program, everyone. Dr. Dan here, and I'm excited to be here with you today because we're going to talk about a topic that, I think we all realize kind of in an inherent way, but we just don't talk about it. And as per anything, I like to bring a little bit of the psychology, the science, and kind of meld it all together to help you give a full understanding and to really create an awareness around these patterns and behaviors that ultimately, once you have the awareness, you can start to make changes around it. But before we jump into it, I want you to hit the subscribe button down below, click the button, turn on your notifications, and that way you won't miss another episode. So let's jump into it. So today we're going to talk about complexity. But first, before we get into that, let's talk about simplicity, right? We often talk about simplicity and how, we wish our life was simpler or we wish that this wasn't so complex. And in reality, simple sounds nice, right? If it's nice and simple and straightforward, it doesn't require much brain thought and power. And it should make life easier. Now, generally when we're saying things like, I wish life was simpler, it's generally in the context of someone irritating us or making our life a little bit more complex than what we feel it needs to be. But what if I told you that you're actually predisposed to try and make your life more complex than it needs to be? You see, humans, we tend to overanalyze and overthink just about everything. The reason being, well, we in part have an emotional brain that causes crippling anxiety and wants us to overthink everything because why not? Technically, it's a bit of a survival mechanism to overthink and overanalyze and look at all the possibilities of things that could kill us, which in a lot of cases are irrational in today's world because there's a lot less few things that can ultimately kill us compared to 30,000 years ago. But we're also biased to believe that the solutions to our complex problems in life have to be equally as complex as the problem itself, or how on earth is it ever going to work? So let me give you a couple of examples. So starting a relationship. Now you're overanalyzing everything that the boy you like, what he does, what he says, and even the emojis that he uses in his texts. What do they all mean? Does he like me back? Does he not like me back? He used a heart emoji here, but in the same context, he didn't use the heart emoji. So maybe he likes me, maybe he doesn't. What is the message? What is he trying to tell me? The simple solution? Hi, I like you. Do you like me? Example number 2, a global pandemic. COVID is all made up. There is no virus. This was all just an elaborate plot by the governments of the world so that they could create a vaccine, which in reality is just a way for them to inject us all with microchips so they can track our every move. The simple solution? A virus literally made the jump from animals to humans. It just so happened when it made the jump from animals to humans, it was also very contagious and very deadly. And just as an FYI, this all was just a matter of when it was going to happen, not a matter of if it was going to happen. The world then came together with a monumental effort and chucked a whole pile of money at it in order to figure out and find a vaccine and ultimately fast track it to the public. And now we have multiple vaccines that have come to the market based on technology that in reality we've been working on for like the last 20 years. And now we've just had this global effort that ultimately perfected it and created this vaccine that is revolutionary and is going to change the very foundation of medical science as we know it. Really quite simple, right? Number 3, you want to lose weight. So the complex way to go about it? Well, the only way I can possibly do that is that if I overhaul my entire diet, I cut out all the carbohydrates, I start having a side of coffee with the 6 sticks of butter in the morning to help myself lose weight, and then attempt to do Tai Chi and meditate while I'm having oily diarrhea from all of the butter that I've consumed, when in reality, the simple solution, start by maybe reducing your carbohydrate intake a little bit at dinner, maybe increase your veggie intake a bit as well, increase your protein or make sure you have more protein balanced throughout your meals throughout the day, and then just consistently do that over and over and over again. Now, you're probably saying, go catch a chicken, Dr. Dan. The only way that I know the abdominal fat is being eviscerated from my body is via the oily diarrhea. I don't need veggies, I need solutions. But trust me, I know it sounds crazy, but it's all so true. This is what we call complexity bias. Humans believe that if the solution isn't complex or if it's too simple, it's not going to solve the problem. The reality though is, the more complex the solution, the more likely you're going to fail at implementing that solution. Now, there actually is a line where our logical brain will say, whoa, that's a bit too complex. You want to back it off because I can recognize that complex extra complex solution you got there, that's just never going to work. Let's go with the slightly less complex solution over here. That for sure will work. But we don't want to go too simple because that would just be ridiculous. You can kind of think about this in the same way as the break and enter criminal called Goldilocks and how she affected the three bears. We want the complexity of our solution to be just right. And ultimately, that just right amount is what we believe will solve our problem. Now, the reason we want this complexity is because our brain likes stimulation. Let's be real. 99% of our lives are quite boring and mundane. We get up, we do the same thing, we go to the same places, we interact with the same people every single day. So whenever possible, our brain likes to inject some excitement, keep things spicy, if you will. Kind of like a dog that likes to eat everything that it can, and it's kind of playing some effed up game of Russian roulette where it's kind of like, I wonder if this bunny turd will kill me today or not. We're going to find out. See, excitement keeps things spicy, right? So adding in that complexity is a way for our brain to essentially keep itself stimulated and active, or at least it thinks so. Now, don't get me wrong. The world is complex, and even just in human behavior alone and the things that humans do, complex, mind-blowing, it hurts my head. But as with anything that I like to try and do, creating an awareness around a potential blind spot or problem can ultimately help us to change that. So when we're aware that, hey, we're making this more complex than it needs to be, maybe we can do something about it. So let's look at wanting to lose weight. Well, instead of overhauling your entire diet, maybe let's look at one, maybe two changes if we feel we can implement them, and then do those changes consistently. Thinking that COVID is actually a global conspiracy? Well, maybe in this case, we maybe need to get out a little bit, watch a little less news, maybe find some new friends that have opposing views, and actually have some discussions around whether that is the case or not. Yes, COVID is not a conspiracy. And I hope you're getting your vaccine. Want to know if that boy likes you? Well, you could just ask. Now, I know that for sure is easier said than done. And by no means am I one to talk. I'm still overanalyzing and overthinking all of the eye contact and gestures that the really cute girl at the gym made towards me and what that all means. So I don't really have much ground to stand on in that respect. However, I could easily solve that problem in my confusion by going up to her and asking her on a date. She could then promptly reject me, and then I could start working out at a gym that's much less convenient in terms of location. It's also a bit dirtier, but I would never have to see her again. Simple solution, right? So obviously, some solutions are easier to implement than others, and those other problems that we're kind of talking about walking up and asking somebody for their phone number or what have you, that warrants an entirely different conversation around self-worth, confidence, and that kind of thing. But don't you worry, I will get to that at some point in time, and I'll even do my own experiment, and then I can type up my new blog from my new gym. But the fact of the matter is, life is boring. Making lifestyle changes and losing weight is boring. There is nothing riveting about increasing your veggie intake and planning to go for a walk every day after dinner. However, focusing on the boring basics and focusing on doing them consistently is ultimately what will lead you to success. Some of the greatest breakthroughs and inventions in history have been born out of simplicity, often with people looking back and going, shit, that was simple. Take the invention of the wheel or the plow. Two inventions that, when you think about it, really aren't that overly complex, considering the plow was originally just a stick in the ground. Not much to it, but they literally shaped modern civilization as we know it. So when it comes to solving your problems, focus on simplicity. Get away from the complexity. Find the simplest solution you can, even if your brain is screaming at you and saying, no way it's going to work. Find it and start doing it consistently. Fail at it, learn from it, and make another change. And from there, success will come. The more times that you repeat that simple solution over and over and over again, that success will ultimately come. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's kind of like putting money into the bank, but it will compound and build and ultimately give you the success or the results that you are looking for. Or worst case scenario, you get to go work out at a new gym. So that's all for today, everybody. Complexity bias, very, very real thing. Focus on the simplicity, get away from the complexity, and I can promise you that you will start working in the direction that you want to go. So, as a final piece, Don't forget to subscribe at the button down below, turn on the notifications so that you don't miss another video. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, put them down in the comments. Would love to hear about them. And if there's a topic or something that I have not covered yet, let me know. Shoot me a message and check me out on my other social media channels at the official Dr. Dan, and I will talk to you soon.